The Victorian Gothic interior does not begin with furniture, nor with architecture, but with a feeling, the sensation of stepping out of ordinary time. When people in the 19th century revived medieval forms, they were not trying to recreate the past accurately, they were searching for moral depth in an industrial age that suddenly felt mechanical and anonymous. Inside these homes, ceilings rose higher than practicality required, windows narrowed into arches, and daylight was deliberately softened by stained glass so that the outside world entered already transformed. Dark wood paneling absorbed sound and movement, making rooms quieter than they truly were, while patterned wallpapers climbed upward like ivy across stone walls that often did not exist. Every object carried narrative weight. Carved chairs resembled church stalls, sideboards looked like miniature cathedrals, and even coat hooks echoed the shapes of tracery. The space suggested permanence in a century obsessed with progress. Instead of brightness, there was atmosphere. Instead of openness, enclosure. Instead of simplicity, symbolism. To sit in such a room was to feel observed by history itself, not haunted in a frightening way, but watched over by generations imagined rather than remembered. The Gothic Revival interior therefore became less a decoration style and more a moral theatre, a stage set for contemplation, reading, writing letters, and long evenings lit by lamps that created islands of gold within an ocean of shadow. As the style matured, it developed a language of textures designed to counteract industrial sameness. Heavy velvet curtains framed windows not only to block drafts but to thicken silence, patterned carpets layered over parquet floors muffled footsteps, bookshelves climbed toward ceilings as if knowledge itself were architectural support. Colors rarely shouted, they smoldered. Deep oxblood red, forest green, midnight blue, tobacco brown, and aged brass replaced the pale pastels that modern viewers often associate with Victorian imagery. Surfaces were seldom flat. Carving, embroidery, repousse metal, and woven tapestries gave walls and furnishings a tactile complexity that rewarded proximity. The room revealed itself slowly, never all at once. Gaslight and later early electricity did not eliminate shadow but multiplied it, and designers embraced that quality, arranging furniture in clusters rather than lines so that each corner became a private chamber within a larger volume. Mirrors were used sparingly, not to enlarge space but to deepen it, reflecting candlelight into recesses rather than exposing everything. The result was an environment where time felt dense, almost compressed, encouraging slow behavior. Conversations lowered naturally in volume, reading lasted longer, and even the ticking of a clock sounded ceremonial. Unlike later minimalist ideals, the Victorian Gothic interior did not attempt to free occupants from objects. It aimed to surround them with meaning, suggesting that domestic life could hold spiritual resonance even without religious ritual. Today, encountering such an interior, whether preserved or carefully recreated, produces a curious psychological effect. Modern homes often strive to erase evidence of living, hidden storage, blank walls, neutral palettes. The Gothic Victorian room does the opposite. It acknowledges accumulation and turns it into atmosphere. Portraits, cabinets of curiosities, botanical prints, and travel artifacts were not clutter but biography rendered visible. This is why the style continues to fascinate filmmakers, writers, and designers. It allows a room to function as character rather than background. You do not simply occupy the space, you negotiate with it. Light must be lit intentionally, seating must be chosen deliberately, and movement slows as awareness increases. In a sense, the Victorian Gothic interior anticipated our contemporary search for mindfulness, but achieved it through richness instead of reduction. The darkness was never about gloom, it was about focus. By limiting what the eye could see at once, it expanded what the mind could imagine. Standing in such a room today, the industrial anxieties that created it feel strangely familiar, and the response equally recognizable: to build sanctuary not by escaping complexity, but by shaping it into order, narrative, and beauty.